You're watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
Curtis Wright, one-on-one. He's our guest on this edition of Byline. I don't know if you can divorce your political ideology from and just pull back. I'm curious to know what you think about not politically the difference, but is there a difference other than politically between the Democrat and the Republican Party, other than politics?
I think that what I have come to realize, which millions of other Americans have, is there is a disconnect between the party system, elected officials, that group, and the people. There is a disconnect. And when people say, I see no difference, they're absolutely right.
Yeah, because a lot of folks say once a candidate gets into office, they have to start to play the game.
I mean, Don, how many times have you and I interviewed people who were running for office? This needs to be changed. That needs to be changed. This isn't right. That's not right.
Both sides of the aisle.
And then they get elected, and the first hard question I'll come back with is, well, you said this during the campaign. I'll go, well, Curtis, you don't understand.
Do you trust one more than the other?
No. Not right now. I think that's
but
what
you
you're
do
seeing.
feel more comfortable
I think what
with
you're
the
seeing
Republican philosophy.
I think that the Republican Party is closer to what I believe as a conservative than the Democrats, for sure. And although,
but that aside, there's not much difference in how they try to go about accomplishing something.
No, because I think the party system is about getting elected and getting office and then having that power. And I think that what the rest of America is about, and now this is really coming to light, I mean, really they're believing in it, or they've come to realize it, and that is, we want people that represent us first. People first, country first.
Do you think both parties are reactionary? And what I mean by that is they just move to the opposite position because they don't want to give any momentum or success to their opposition. Oh, they just moved to the offshore drilling. It was the Republicans favored it, the Democrats didn't, or conservatives favored the Democrat. And then when Obama said, the Republican, no, there becomes a reason not to do that.
Because
or Nixon, you had Nixon propose health care, the Democrats wouldn't support it.
I think, but when you pull the curtain back on all that stuff again, what you find out is that the person who's in that office, sadly, in America, and this has been coming for a long time, Don, this doesn't happen overnight. These people are counting the votes instead of going, what's best for the country, and what do I truly, I'm not sure, I'm telling you, there's very few elected officials. I truly, after all these years, understand what they truly believe in. I know one thing they believe in, I should say that. That is getting elected and staying in office.
You're talking on both sides of the aisle.
Oh, on both sides of the aisle. And that's sad. That's a sad thing. And I think that my involvement...
What's created that? Do you think
oh, well, look at government. Government is everything now. Look at the last election for President of the United States. I wish somebody on the national scene, in the news media or on even the opinion news, would count the times that the word government was used in a debate, a discussion, a policy thing, because government is number one. And when government's number one, then guess what? That's your paycheck. That's the organization you're loyal to, rather than the people. See, people were supposed to only go there, serve, and leave. So ultimately our system would work by you being a citizen first and an elected official second. But that's now turned.
Let's get local for a second. What's your position on the proposed New Hanover County sales tax increase?
I'm against it. I believe government needs to be cut back. What you're seeing in America has been coming for years.
Everybody says cut.
No.
Where?
Everywhere. Across the board, I think, let me tell you something, Don. I would love to interview the man on the street when they say dramatically services have been cut for the last couple months because of budget cuts, and say to them, have you noticed any difference in your life? 99.9 would say no. Government should be cut 30 to 40% across the board.
We're having tough economic times, but we're still considered a wealthy nation relative to the rest of the world. Should we as a collective developed nation help those who are in poverty and can't access some of the benefits this country offers?
There's a way to do that. But we have turned into a poverty state, an entitlement state. There must be, as there used to be in this country, if you want a hand up, not a handout, then we'll set up a situation for that hand up and then that responsibility comes back to you, or actually the whole system is about personal responsibility. That's gone.
Do
gone.
Americans need to scale back our expectations of our standard of living?
Our standard of living has been a fantasy in many ways for decades. It really has.
I just read a report. It said for every dollar the federal government takes in, it spends $1.25.
Well, that's fantasy. And the only way that that's been allowed to occur...
And the difference is borrowing.
And think about it. Locally, state, and nationally, it's because you're allowed to borrow. If you had an unlimited credit card, Don, and no one ever held you to account for that, I'm sure your lifestyle would be different too.
So our lifestyle is a fantasy.
It's a fantasy.
And we need
it has no relationship to the changing global economy over the last several decades, the changing change in societies.
All right, so how do we re-engineer our society?
You take away the entitlements. In 1994, not last week, it was Mr. Greenspan who said, "You can't do this forever. We're running out of time. We will hit the wall." 1994, not last week. Not in his today when he's before Congress.
Well, Mr. Greenspan also contributed to the collapse of the economy.
Comes back to your question. Who's to blame? Everybody's to blame. Everybody's to blame. Parties and the public.
So what are your plans?
I plan to do it all over again. I never... Radio, where, of course, CarolinaTalkNetwork.com is our internet venture that we launched last year. We're spreading that across North Carolina. And of course, I believe that is the future. Terrestrial radio will, in fact,
doing like a radio show on the internet.
And but
with visual.
Yeah, looking to get back on radio in more markets than I had been previously. Carolina Talk Network, and maybe some TV as well.
Yeah. Are you doing any work? Are you still a financial planner?
No, I gave up my practice because the show just took over my life.
Sure.
Took off so much. About a year and a half, 2 years ago, I gave up my brokerage licenses and put them on hold and got out of that business.
So maybe TV, maybe...
First radio, and of course continuing...
Internet radio?
And no, terrestrial radio. Looking at different markets here in North Carolina.
Would you move?
Would I move?
Yeah.
I don't think I have to move. I don't think that's necessarily
of course,
a
with
barrier.
With technology today, you can broadcast from anywhere.
Right. I used to talk to senators on the floor of the Senate while I was on the air.
Right.
Certainly you can do that anywhere.
Curtis, thank you for joining us this morning.
Well, it was great seeing you.
Fascinating conversation. Great to see you, too. Good luck.
Thank you, Don.
I'll be listening and watching.
Thank you.
Next week, we're going to talk to someone whose entire family was wiped out in the Holocaust. He escaped. It's a compelling story. So join us next week for Byline Wilmington. I'm Don Ansel. Have a great week.
You've been watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Join us every Sunday morning at 11 as we explore the issues that concern you.